really simply, fiscal sponsorship is just a term to describe when one 501c3 allows another individual or organization or operation or community group, whatever, to use their 501c3 status. So it's like a legal umbrella kind of coverage, right? And then that fiscal sponsor is legally liable for the work that you do because you're kind of under their umbrella, you're under their insurance, you're in their audit, you're in their 990, their tax return. So you're kind of under their umbrella, and every fiscal sponsor does it a little bit differently. They provide different types of services, they charge different amounts of money. There's two buckets of fiscal sponsorship work. One is professional fiscal sponsorship, which is the work that Arabella provides, and most of the larger organizations like Tides, Urban Affairs Coalition, Third Sector New England, etc., provide they're really designed to do fiscal sponsorship. There's also casual fiscal sponsorship, right? So anyone with a 501c3 can help out anyone they know and give them access to their C3 to do grants and things like that. So think about like real grassroots community groups, right? Where maybe you're just using one and maybe you've got a handshake to kind of get stuff done versus like, a serious contract with a scope of work and regular and all that kind of good stuff that happens there. And why you would choose it really is fiscal sponsorship is kind of the fastest, quickest way to get stuff done, right? Like you don't have to wait for the IRS to approve your 501c3 status. You don't have to go through your state registration. You really just have to find a 501c3 to kind of pitch them what you want to do. They say yes or yes or no. Usually they'll say yes, and then you figure out how to work together and make it get done. Also, if you're doing something short term, if you don't need a full year 365 kind of operation, you kind of jump in, jump out with a fiscal sponsor. If you want to test a new thing, if you want to try something, it's all great ways to do it. And if you don't want to manage all the work, right, you just have a C3 and they'll give you an accountant, they'll give you an HR person when you're ready for that. They'll do all that kind of stuff so you don't have to reinvent the wheel and do the operational work. EDs, executive directors, leaders, you don't want to be also the janitor, also the accountant, also the HR person, also the office manager. You want to just do the work, right? So let somebody else focus on that for you. Yeah, so generally speaking, you want mission alignment, right? That's kind of like the big one. And that's also kind of an IRS thing around mission drift and are you working on your mission? So if you're a health and human services nonprofit, you want to find a fiscal sponsor that's in that area because they'll also have the natural network and connections for that kind of work. If you're an arts program, there's plenty of arts-focused fiscal sponsors as well. So you want to find one that fits you in a mission level. But then you're also going to want to understand all the other things that go along with that, right? So, finances, right? So a lot of fiscal sponsors are saying, well, you have to have so much money to kind of come in, right? Because they're here to manage your money. So the bigger ones, you might have to have six-figure commitments, right? Anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 in commitments to get in. There's also lots of smaller grassroots or boutique fiscal sponsors that you can walk in with zero money and get going. There's also interesting new models that are like crowdfunding / fiscal sponsorship or fully online ones now that are really very low barriers of entry, right? So those are really great, but the bigger ones, if you're bringing in bigger money, you're more complicated, you're going to need those kind of services and bells and whistles that come along with that. So it's really a matter of your budget size and yeah, basically your budget size and your mission is the two things that are going to happen there. There is usually an application process and vetting process and due diligence, because again, they're opening up their liability to you. They're going to give you that coverage. So they want to make sure that you know what you're doing, that you have a good team. So they're going to look at, who's your operating team. They're going to look at who's your advisory board. So you won't have a board of directors. You'll have an advisory board. So, which is a lot different. So a board of directors is generally the liable board on the 990, but your board as a fiscal sponsor is really an advisory board. So they're there to do the similar work in terms of support, strategy, fundraising, right? But they're not going to be legally liable, which might be a benefit to them and for you to them. Yeah, so I mean, there's tons, right? and without dropping names, but some of the big successes that we see are you have an organization, they're doing their thing, they're getting a little bit of recognition for it, and then say a government agency is like, oh, I love what you do, I want to give you $600,000 to do more of it, right? And you're like, oh my God, that's so great. But a government contract can be reimbursement based, which means you have to front the money. So now you've got to scramble to find 90 days or so of liquid capital to kind of cover yourself while you're doing the work, and then provide perfect receipts to get paid back. A lot of nonprofits don't have that kind of money laying around, right? So a fiscal sponsor who accepts government contracts will do that for you. They'll have a line of credit, they'll have the cash flow management skills to kind of help you with that. So that's always a great reason to go to a fiscal sponsor for cash flow, for more sophisticated financial management that maybe a funder is expecting from you or looking for if they want to give you your first big grant. Also experiments, right? You want to try something, start something out, play with it. Maybe it takes you a couple years to iterate and adjust and adapt it till you get it right. And then once you figure it out, it's awesome and it's going and it's very successful. So a lot of times a fiscal sponsor also kind of vouches for you, right? To their funders. The funders know, oh, you're with XYZ fiscal sponsor. We know them. We've used them before. They're really big. We trust them. So we can trust them with the money and we can let you go for your mission.